Okay, it's the first real work day on the Jeep. This is a 1947 and restoration project starts today. It's got a 134 cubic inch 4-cylinder. This is actually not the engine that came with this Jeep, so we're going to swap the correct engine back into it and put a body back on it. It's had plenty of modifications over the years. Some are pretty good, some need to be cleaned up, and it starts with pressure washing. So we've got a pretty good recycling pressure washer system here. We'll take the dirt, the grease, all the years of grime off of it with steam power, and then recycle that water and let us use it again. So lots of things are already plugged up. I've put kind of like these hydraulic plug type caps into the orifices of things that are open. That said, I'm not really going to worry about getting this thing soaked. It's going to be a hot day today. So I'm going to let that water dry off naturally once I finish the pressure washing. This is the first step in a long process. Okay, first pass of pressure washing is done. She's actually pretty clean. Pulled off the radiator and some hoses and some things that I needed to get down a little bit deeper. I want to clean this engine up, even though it's not the one that's going to stay in here, if nothing else, for the purposes of removing it and for selling it or doing whatever its next life is going to be. I want to preserve it and make it usable. But yeah, lots of grime off of here. Got a little bit of loose paint. Everything seems pretty solid. Now I'll probably find a leaf blower, blow it off, and then let the sun dry it out. It's dried out and back inside, so it's time to start removing some of these components. I'll start with the plumbing and the wires, and then the accessories, and get that engine and drivetrain out. Leave it rolling for now and see if it is possible to continue cleaning, rust cleanup and prime and paint with it on its axles. I'm gonna start taking things apart, labeling them, putting them on the shelf. Definitely want to preserve all these parts for me or someone else to keep these vehicles alive. Got the front and rear axles disconnected from the transfer case, and this front axle, put a little bit of this heavy duty tape around the yoke so that I don't lose the needle bearings in that one. It's wet on the ground because I've also taken out the spark plugs and been spraying all the areas that possibly could have had water in them. A little bit of water got in the exhaust flange, so I've just been blowing until there's not a drop left. Then I'll put some ATF down the spark plug holes and rotate the engine so that it's good and lubed, and that'll prevent corrosion while it's stored. Okay, those are some healthy squirts. I'll let it sit like that for a little bit, and then I'll rotate the engine a few times, and we'll repeat the process. Well, I found a 35mm socket. It fits perfect. I don't know if that's the size it's supposed to be on there. The nut is kind of mangled, so it could have some metal squished out, but I think it's 1 3/8 anyways. I've got an old torque wrench attached to it. It'll work for what I need to do here. It's pretty easy to turn over, and we see valves are moving. So I'll do a bit of this. I'll squirt in some ATF up here on the head as well, just to make sure everything is nice and lubricated, but mainly I want to get it down into the cylinders and keep on rotating the engine. So there's a nice coating on the cylinder walls and on the rings to just preserve it until it's used for whatever it's going to do next. All right, that went pretty well. Got the engine, transmission, transfer case sitting on a truck tire for now until I figure out where it's going next. But the Jeep is a lot lighter than it was before. Also saw me wrestle with that exhaust. I guess I felt like I needed a puzzle today. All right, I'm gonna take off these nice Bilstein shocks and a couple other just accessories like brake, master cylinder, other things that are just kind of passengers on the minimal rolling frame. I think I'll roll it out and do a little bit more washing. Well, it's as clean as can be, top and bottom. Who knows, maybe of all the unrestored ones, it's the cleanest in the world just for this moment. Pretty successful weekend. Got this thing really cleaned up. It can almost paint it right now, but I'm not ready to do that just yet. I also got all of the materials from the multiple Jeeps worth of parts consolidated into one place, so I can start pulling those apart and cleaning what I need to, and just stacking away stuff that I don't need to figure out which radiator I'm going to use out of the selection I've got, that sort of thing. So lots of parts cleaning, lots of rust removal, lots of triaging, I guess, and figuring out what I'm going to use. But this was a great starting weekend to the project. Back working on the Jeep. I guess this is the fourth day I've been working on it, and today I'm focusing on getting the frame closer and closer to being ready to be painted. So that means knocking out some broken off bolts that were here. I had to do some bolt extraction over here with holding a nut to the end of a bolt that was stuck, but I was able to get that one free. And there's some other bolts I had to cut off back here. A little bit of re-welding of old joints that were maybe welded when the body was on, and so they weren't as complete as they could be. So finishing that sort of thing up. And then turning my attention to this rear bumper, which is, new bumper things on both sides. So I think I'm going to be able to use a big old piece of iron and some wrenches and straighten it. Yeah, so this worked great. I would call it reverse physics, basically just trying to attach something that you can use as leverage to put an equal and opposite force to what created the damage originally. And that's all that I needed to do here, and the rotation and the wrinkles and the buckling all sorted itself out by just literally bending this part out. You do have some buckles that will never get straight, like this one right here. They're still collapsed a little bit. I'm starting to use a huge wrench. It's my go-to metal working tool. Get a little bit. You can also clamp effectively something like this with a piece of metal on top and bottom. Put the wrench around both pieces so you have a sandwich. This is already 90% of the way there. I'm going to keep on tweaking and move on to the other side. You can see that for this bend, I need extra wisdom, but it's definitely going to make the job easier. A couple of blocks on the tires. Me operating the wisdom stick while hands on the camera, you can see it's much control I have. Well, we're getting there, and I have the wrench up here where I can pull down, in this case, the buckled metal and replace the bend helmet. So yeah, it's going to keep on playing with this until it's straight. Let's look at the other side. Wisdom. All right, well, I got what I needed to done on the frame today. Got lots of extra stuff pulled off. The bumper's nice and straight and square as it's ever going to be. And I was able to get this inner kind of liner out of this transmission or transfer case mount. The new mount comes with a metal carrier or liner, and then the rubber snubber in the center. Anyways, I was able to knock that out. It's on the ground there. The only thing that's kind of slowing things down or causing me some hesitation about what comes next is this mount here, which is obviously not original. I think this was something that was fabric cobbled together when a alternate engine was put in here. This looks like a standard mount. This looks like something that was adapted, and there's even uglier stuff underneath it. So I want to pull that off, repair the frame, and see how I can put the original style mount on there. I don't know if I can get a replacement for just this part. It seems like something that normally would be, cut off an existing frame. I don't know if that's a aftermarket part that's available, but even just a really good photo that I could use to copy the original style would be good enough. But yeah, it's pretty mangled, and I want to deal with that before going on to paint the frame. But otherwise, it's getting there, slowly but surely. Well, sorry about the rough audio earlier. I'll try to remember to turn off that fan in the future, but I do have more videos coming up where I continue to strip the frame, I repair that driver's side engine support bracket, as well as get into some wet blasting and acid etching. So look for those coming up. In the meantime, thanks a lot for watching.